What's going on YouTube? Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the 2015 Mustang and my thoughts on the new 2.3 liter EcoBoost engine that has been slotted to fill a gap between the base V6 model and the V8 found in the GT. Now I know there's hundreds of other videos and articles posted on the internet talking about the 2015 Mustang and praising Ford for pulling their pony car out of the 20th century and giving it a proper redesign that's not only outfitted with all the techie gadgets the consumers are increasingly demanding, but also bringing it up to snuff in core hardware of the vehicle. Now, while some disagree with Ford's decision to turn the American muscle car into a sports car, I for one am delighted to see this new beginning for a long-running Mustang. If not for the base and the GT model, but for what will come in whatever Shelby SVT flavor Ford decides to unleash down the road. Now, where I diverge from the Mustang fanboy crowd is with the praise of the EcoBoost engine and what it will do for this car. First, just the plain facts. The EcoBoost 2.3 liter is a Duratec variant of that very familiar 2 liter EcoBoost that is well known in the Focus ST. Differences namely coming from some fancy headwork and an added third of a liter. The headwork includes a trick design 3-port integrated exhaust manifold coupled by a twin-scroll turbocharger. What does all that mean? Flat, instantaneous torque to the tune of 320 foot-pounds while achieving 310 horsepower at a relatively low 5,500 RPM. The power in this engine will come on and practically stay on throughout the shifts until that whole pesky drag gearing runway length problem gets in your way. So what's the problem here? These numbers are only obtained with 93 octane fuel. Will the average EcoBoost buyer be treating their Mustang to 93 octane at roughly 30 to 50 cent gallon premium? I'm going to say no. So let's bring these numbers down to reality here. Using figures from the ST's 2 liter and suggesting about a 4 1/4 decrease in horsepower, your EcoBoost Mustangs should be churning up around 295 horsepower. Now, allegedly, torque does not suffer much at all in the EcoBoost, regardless of octane, which I'll skeptically agree to for comparison's sake. Now, this isn't my only gripe, though. But to further explore this, let's bring the old reliable back into the equation. I'm talking about the 3.7 liter V6 that changed the view of the V6 Mustang of being nothing more than a rental car forever. The 2015 V6 loses 5 horsepower due to a supposed intake change needed to wedge the engine underneath that low-rise hood. I'm willing to bet that a trip to the dyno is going to show that a majority, if not all, the ponies that were present in 2014 will still be here to play in 2015. Now, with this aside, there's no arguing a 30 foot-pound torque gap between the EcoBoost and V6 is substantial. But Ford's not dumb. They looked at many angles here between the two cars. I'm going to just work off the manual transmission cars from here on out to keep things simple. If you look at power to weight ratios of the two, you have 310 ponies pushing 11.37 pounds each in the EcoBoost car on premium fuel. Go to regular, take away 15 of those horses, and the remaining 295 have to carry an additional 0.6 of a pound for an 11.97 weight to power ratio. In the V6, the 300 horses are pushing 11.36 pounds each. Advantage either way here is going to the V6 car. Now, what else is going to help or hurt each car then? Gearing. V6 this year flat out gets a 315 rear gear. No performance package like the outgoing 2014. EcoBoost gets a 331 rear gear with an optional 355 in the performance pack. 355 rear end bolted to a 4-cylinder. Back in 2014, V6 had a 273 rear gear and an optional 331 in the performance pack. This fact alone, coupled with power band differences, is most likely enough to handicap the 2015 Mustang V6 straight out of the gate, leaving EcoBoost ever so slightly in front when the two cars are put head-to-head. Even if an EcoBoost owner is pumping 87 octane fuel, the two cars are neck and neck on paper. The only thing the V6 may have in its back pocket is that given the gearing and power band spreads, should be spread slightly further apart than in the EcoBoost. And every semi-petrol head should know that each shift equals the amount of time your car is not accelerating. All these things put together will ultimately determine how these cars perform on the old 1320. We already know that in primo conditions with a good driver, the outgoing 2014 V6 Performance Pack is capable of a 13.5 time slip bone stock. We can only guess what the new cars can achieve by taking the data we know and calculating on paper. My guess is, for the average driver in average conditions, I'm thinking a 14 dead out of the V6 car, 13.9 out of your standard EcoBoost, and maybe a 13.7 from the EcoBoost with the Performance Pack. Throw 87 octane at the standard EcoBoost and you'll probably come up with around a 14.2. All these times are just as obtainable in the old 2014 V6 car. Hopefully this new car will really shine in the twisties, but you may want to wait for the new MX-5 if you're into that sort of thing. My last beef overall with the 2015 Mustang typically is the last thing on any Mustang owner's mind. I'm talking about fuel economy numbers here. Obviously, leaving out the GT, but noting that an 87-pound increase in the weight, while increasing engine power, does not scream efficiency increase for the GT car. EPA numbers just came in and showing interesting results. Automatic tranny cars in the V6 will give you the best highway fuel economy for 2015, while a manual EcoBoost will net you 1 extra mpg in the city, but the auto will give you that 1 extra mpg back on the highway. This puts the EcoBoost at a 31 mpg on highway with stick, 32 mpg highway with a not so slushy auto box. The V6 comes in at 28 miles per gallon on the highway no matter what. You may also note that manual trans GTs lose 1 mpg on the highway as well this year. So, wait, what? If you've been paying attention at all to Mustang in the past 5 years, you'll know that Mustang V6 of the 2011-2014 variety already achieved 31 miles per gallon on the highway with the auto trans. That's right, a measly 1 mile per gallon gain on the highway in your Turbo 4, while a similarly optioned V6 drops 3 miles per gallon this year. Only true gain this year will be city numbers for the EcoBoost, which is the only thing that makes sense here. When you're barely moving along in the city, the less cylinders you're feeding, the better. But all the R&D that Ford put into this new chassis and body, and it's giving zero benefit to what has been automakers' hot button topic for the past 6 years? What went wrong here? A measly 10 to 30 pounds extra in these cars should not have cost 1 to 2 full MPG points. The only other thing is the shorter gearing changes, but one would think that surely with a car that slinks as low as the new Mustang, these two factors would have canceled each other out. I'm at a loss here on this one. So what should you do to fill your needs for a Mustang, but you don't want the thirsty V8's price tag and insurance rate, and the idea of a Turbo 4 Mustang is blasphemous to you? Buy a leftover 2014 while they're cheap. Take advantage of this deal now for numerous reasons. Number one, the powertrain is solid and proven. Anyone who knows engines will tell you the 3.7 liter is a damn good motor. Number two, it'll keep up if not beat a new EcoBoost Mustang every time. Number three, modifications are plentiful already for this car. No waiting for the local tuners to crack the codes on these new engine computers. And number four, they're cheap. I said it, they're cheap fun. If you've paid attention to even half of my ranting here, you'll find the point I'm trying to make is your slower Mustangs are no faster this year in 2015. Take it from someone who's owned a 2-liter. I've owned a 3.5-liter EcoBoost. Skip the 2.3 in the Mustang this year unless you plan on getting a car with all the toys or a special 50th anniversary car. I know EcoBoost doesn't equal SVO, but you can't help but wonder here if history is going to end up repeating itself. My thought, stick with the V6 car for now. It'll be the first to have all the go-fast parts along with the GT. You'll be no faster or slower than any other Mustang in its class from any year, and you won't have the immediate fuel economy penalty anytime you go to pass someone on the highway. While new models are exciting, I've been one of Ford's beta testers per se in the past with a first-year Job 1 production build, and it's not the most fun that I've ever had.